Support for this show comes from Lead Quizzes. Lead Quizzes helps you easily set up high-converting quizzes to capture and qualify leads for your business. Visit leadquizzes.com/podcast to get a 14-day free trial today.
I didn't see myself as the CEO or as a leader of a company that anybody would want to follow or that we could go anywhere. And in that year, there are a bunch of things that happened. But over the course of that year, I woke up one day and I was like, no, I kind of know what I'm doing. I can make this happen. Literally, I saw myself as, I can lead this company. We actually have something valuable and this thing will be around.
From Lead Quizzes, it's Journey to Seven Figures, a show about entrepreneurs and the stories behind how they grew their business to seven figures and beyond. We cover the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the lessons they learned along the way. So welcome back to Journey to Seven Figures. Today I'm interviewing Brad Martineau, CEO and co-founder of Six Division. Six Division was launched to provide small businesses using marketing automation a better source of coaching, training, and done-for-you services. They build predictable selling machines that automatically deliver your ideal prospects who know who you are, what you do, and want to work with you. Very excited to interview Brad today and learn about his journey to seven figures. Brad, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks, man. Excited to be here.
All right, Brad, so let's get started with your story. What were you doing that led up to you starting Six Division?
So I was working at a company called Infusionsoft, and they help entrepreneurs automate their businesses, their client journey. In your intro, you talked about the predictable selling system. That's a component of the journey. So I was a sixth employee there back in early 2000s. And I was there for around 7 or 8 years until we got to about 150 employees. And they did a round of layoffs. They hit like a rough, I don't know if it was a rough spot financially. They hit one of those spots like, well, we can either make a decision now and have some severance and do something nice for people that have to leave, or we can wait and roll the dice. And if it doesn't go well, then we're going to be kind of screwed. So they laid off like 10% of the company as a cinching up the belt and tightening up. And I got included in that. And we won't go into why, although that'd probably be an entire podcast as to why, but I was younger and less tactful. And as I look back on it, if they wouldn't have let me go, I'd probably still be there. And I am thankful every day for the fact that I got let go, no matter how pissed I was for as long as I was. So anyway, so I got kicked to the curb. And, I looked around at the time that I got laid off, fired. I've got 5 kids and my youngest son was 6 weeks old. And so I'm looking around and I'd left. I think I was making, right about 6 figures or something when I got fired or something like that. I don't remember. And I was looking around, I got 5 kids and I'm like, all right, well, I started looking at jobs, right? So like, what job could I go get? And the only ones that I could see myself actually getting and actually like it being justified that they would hire me, they were like $50,000 or $60,000 a year jobs. Like, well, that's not going to work. And so I looked around like, well, I just spent the last 8 years building this tool. There are a bunch of people that don't know how to use it. I know how to use it really well. So I guess I'll go do freelance consulting. So I got some clients in freelance consulting. It took me about 6 months or so to realize, man, I don't like freelance consulting. Like I don't like working on my own. I don't like trying to work at home. I want to be a part of a team and I want to be building something. And so long story short, I spent about 18 months kind of dabbling with some different things and really just shying away from the fact that like I didn't want to be on my own, but I was going to go build something. And after 18 months, I ended up partnering up with, he's now my business partner in Six Division and plus this and the company I own. And we connected and we're like, dude, we got to go make a run at this. And I think there's a really big opportunity in the Infusionsoft world specifically because there weren't really any other tools at that point. And so we started Six Division and launched it. And the whole thing for us, the whole premise for us is Infusionsoft is this tool that represents a systematic and automated and easier and better way of running your business. It had the power to change people's businesses and change their lives, but very few people were able to actually get that benefit. And my analogy was and always has been, the tool is sort of like a calculator. And no matter how simple a calculator, if you give it to someone who doesn't know math, it's going to be confusing for them. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs that like nobody was teaching, and really there's not many people still teaching, like how to think about automation so that you can go use this tool. So we're like, hey, let's go do that. We'll help people get their mind wrapped around automation. We'll do the implementation. So we decided we started this business. Now, just because we decided we start this business doesn't mean that there was any money in the business. It just means that we had an idea. And my guess is there's probably some people listening to this that are in that bucket of like, oh, but I had an idea. I thought that meant I would make money. And we did it so it was around September, October when we decided that we were going to create this business. It was kind of an extension of some consulting that I'd been doing and that my business partner had been doing. And we had some people that we had hired. They were sort of kind of a part of what we were doing. But again, we didn't really have very much revenue. So, the business made some money and it all went back to 3 or 4 team members that we had. And my business partner and I didn't take any money out for like 6 months. And this is rolling up on March of 2012. And because we were making no money, we decided it would make sense to go sign a personally guaranteed lease that was like 3 times the cost of my mortgage on an office. And we dropped on credit cards probably like 25 or 30 grand to go sponsor Infusionsoft's big user conference. It's back in 2012.
All right, Brad, so let's stop there real quick. So like you're kind of doing like some of this, like, are you just getting like some clients maybe through referrals, word of mouth, and then you decide you're going to make this, like, you're going to really commit and get this office and like throw some money down to sponsor a conference?
Yeah. So we found some through, we knew some people at Infusionsoft. They kind of just found us because we started to put some things up in some different marketplaces. So, I mean, it was like a trickle of clients that was enough to keep the business on life support. And by that, I mean, I had enough money in savings still, and my business partner had enough money in savings that we didn't have to take it out because there was still money in savings, but that savings was dwindling. So we were like just enough to keep people around. And we would always have our clients come travel to us. And we were subleasing literally a like maybe 9x9 office space from one of the guys that was working with us, from his father-in-law or stepfather, who was an attorney. And they had like a co-shared training room. But because we were subleasing from his stepfather, they didn't want us using it all that much, but we wanted to use it. There was always like, we were like trying to be tricky about how we'd use this space. And our clients would come out and we're like, look, if this is going to be a business, we can't be this way. We've got to have like a space for people to come. So that's what led us to, okay, we're going to go sign this lease. And it was obvious that we were going to have to go sponsor this event. I mean, we didn't really have the money, but we threw it down on a credit card. And that led up to, it was actually April 2nd was the first day of the conference. April 3rd was the second day of the conference. That's an important date, but I'll get to that in a second. That was it. We're just kind of like finding people through whatever channel we could. And it was just enough for the business to not totally go under, but not enough for it to really, I mean, we literally didn't take any money for like 6 months.
Okay. So that not a great place to be in. Do you remember kind of how much revenue you were doing to put the $30K in perspective that you guys spent on this conference?
Oh, how much revenue we were doing?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So we sold, let's see, let me think about this. Maybe we were doing 10 or 15 grand a month, maybe. And then not like consistently. So we might have a couple of deals that would come through. And like when I say we were making enough to pay the bills, I mean, we had like a part-time implementation person that was working with us, but another part-time person that was kind of selling, but kind of implementing. But like the costs were, I mean, it might have been 10 or 15 grand, if that. Maybe one of those 6 months we might have hit 20 grand. In there somewhere, we did go to an event. We didn't have like an official company name yet, so we were going under my old brand. Like we didn't have the stuff figured out. Went to an event. We might have done 20 grand like at that event, but that also had to cover the cost of us going to the event. So like maybe 20 grand. I'd be surprised if we ever did more than that in the first 6 months.
Okay. All right. So 30K was obviously a huge investment. What was the business model at the time? Were you doing these done for you services? Were you doing training? Like, what did it look like before you went to the conference?
It didn't look like much, that's for sure. So we were trying to figure it out. So what would happen is we followed Dan Kennedy, and he talked about this idea of like, have this offer that's way up there, that's like raises the price ceiling. It was sort of a lot of projects that we would kind of custom quote. And so they might be somewhere in the $4,000 to $6,000 range. We didn't do a lot of training where it was like, hey, we'll just teach you what to do. It was people coming saying, hey, I'm trying to make this thing work and I can't. Will you guys help me? Like, yeah, we'll figure that out. And so most of them, I think we probably ended up charging somewhere between probably around like $5,000 or whatever to have people come hang out with us for a day or for a day and a half. And we would build a bunch of stuff and then provide some support. But it was all just one-time projects. And they were all sort of in that range. That was basically it. So it was kind of like a day or a 2 day, or maybe we do some stuff remote. And we were literally kind of making up whatever we could to get people to give us money so that we could survive.
And so what did that kind of look like? They would come into the office and they'd say like, I'm trying to achieve a certain result. And you guys would say, okay, here's how we should build this out. Yeah.
So a lot of that conversation would happen before. That's what we would be talking about in the sales conversation. So hey, what are you trying to do? And they would describe it like, all right, cool. We can build this, this, and this. How does that sound? And it'd be like, hey, we can capture these here. We'll send them to your sales team here. Here's what it'll look like on this side when you're delivering for your clients. And they're like, cool, I'm in. And so at that point, we had a loose idea of what we were going to do for them. And then they'd come out and we'd spend, if it was a day or 2 days, we'd spend a day in the beginning. We'd go map it out and get really clear. And then we would go build everything. And then we'd kind of hand it back over to them and say, okay, it's built here. Go run with it and go use it.
Okay, great. So not feeling like super great in the business at this time. Let's pick the story back up on April 2nd when you guys do this conference.
So April 2nd is the first day of the conference. Part of our sponsorship, which is probably like a $20,000 sponsorship, and then it was about $10,000 in expenses. We had to fly some people down. We had all the collateral and everything. So first day of the conference hits. And part of our sponsorship was that the second day in the evening, so I was going to speak. I spoke I think the first day I spoke from stage, like during the middle of the conference. And then the second day we had a bonus session at night. And in that bonus session at night, we could teach and then we could sell like directly in the room. We could send people to the back of the room to go buy. So we're getting ready and we went into the conference and we took 3 offerings. It wasn't like we had this proven business model. It's like, well, here's one offering. It's going to be called a makeover. And they'll come hang out with us for 2 days in our office. And we're going to build a ton of stuff in 2 days and they'll leave. And we were like, we'll charge $5,000 for that. We sat down with Clayton Maskers, the CEO of Infusionsoft. My business partner did. He's like, look, there's no price elasticity between $5,000 and $6,000. You should charge $6,000. I'm already like freaking out that I'm going to get up on stage. I'd only sold one time from stage before and I sold a $50 a month membership. So I'm going to get up on stage. I got to sell this thing for, I was thinking $5,000 and then it's $6,000. I'm like, there's no way anyone's going to buy this. So we had that offering. And then the other offering we had was like for $1,500 a month, we would basically launch a new campaign or a new project. It would just be an ongoing retainer. And then we had this $100 a month membership that you could get into that we would just give you some content or whatever. Those are the 3 things that at the booth we were talking about. So I went and spoke from stage. And then the second morning, so this is April 3rd, 2012. This day will live in infamy. I woke up. I happened to check my email in the morning, which, by the way, don't ever do that. And I had an email from my business bank account, 2 of them. One that was a courtesy balance notification that was courteously notifying me that my balance was below 0. And I had the other one, which was a courtesy reminder that I should move money into my bank account because it was below 0. And then I also had 2 emails from my personal bank accounts, which also happened to be overdrawn. So it was like a great confidence booster that was like, hey, you're going to need to make money because you're at the end of your runway. So, and I actually went back. I have the screenshots. I've talked about this in pre. I actually show like these are the actual emails that came. I was $950 over in my personal account. And I was like $20 over on the business account. Anyway, it was a fantastic day. Great day. I love that I can laugh about it now. So that's how I started the day. I'm putting all my prezo together. I literally finished my slides as the first person walks into the room. And we were blessed that like the room filled up. We had, I don't know, a couple hundred people in the room. There was standing room only. I mean, according to pictures, because once I start going, I don't really pay attention, but I had a bunch of people in the room. In the back, as they're walking in the room, we are, I don't know if you know what the HP LaserJet 1020 printer is or 1102. It's a little black one that's pretty common in small businesses, little black bad boy. We're printing off order forms literally in the back of the room as people are walking in. And so I did my presentation, had some clients that had done some work with us get up to give a testimonial, and one of them started to drag on. I had to cut them off. I'm like, dude, you can stop talking now. This is not about you. I made an offer and we did really, really well. Ton of people went to the back of the room. Ton of people signed up. It was one of those surreal feelings when I walked out after. It's like, holy crap, what just happened? And I think we might actually have a business here. That put us on the map. We closed a bunch more people down the next day. And the reality is, so here's what happened though. So we did that. We're like, cool, we can live another day. Like I can go put money in my bank account because this is going to survive. And then the worst thing happened. There was one client, but I can't remember his name. I swear I'd never forget it. But one client who it was a $6,000 offer, or you could do 3 payments of $2,000. And on the form, you're supposed to check it off. Well, one of the guys who was working with us didn't check it off specifically. There wasn't anything on there. So we ran it as a $6,000 order. He wanted 3 payments of $2,000. Instead of reaching out to us, he went straight to Amex and did a dispute with Amex. I don't know if anybody knows anything about merchant accounts yet, but if you charge a large amount of money and then you get a dispute and you're early on in your business, like in a brand new office that just got opened up that doesn't show up on Google Maps yet, then your merchant account doesn't like you. And literally they locked up like $180,000 and held it for 6 months. And the reason why I say the worst thing is because it was the worst thing in that it's a freaking pain in the butt to run a business when you don't have cash. And that was really hard. And it was the best thing because it forced us to be really prudent at a time in our business when we could have been really stupid. Because again, remember, my business partner and I hadn't taken any money out. We could have been like, cool, let's go do this. And then the money's gone. And then I don't know necessarily that the business would survive. So it operated sort of like a forced savings account. But that was that initial, like we were grinding. And then boom, we hit like we just hit a little bit of like, hey, there's something here. And that really set us up for the rest of the year. So that's kind of the story of how I got into 6th Division in the first, 6 months or so. Anyway, that's how we started.
Okay, awesome. So you got 180. Did that lock up like all the sales you made from that event, or how were you able to then like cash flow your team for that?
No, it wasn't all of it. It was the majority of it. It might have been like 2/3 of it, somewhere in there. I don't remember the specific numbers, but it was somewhere in there. So here's what we had enough because we were running stuff through, Visa and whatever, and they were totally fine. So we had enough there for the business to keep going. And We also had additional conversations of people that didn't buy at the event that we were able to follow up with. And we had done text opt-ins in my main stage presentation. We had a bunch of leads we had captured that didn't even come to that event. So we continued to close deals down. And then here's the deal. We did $1 million in our first year, and it sucked. And when I say it sucked, what I mean is, there's something really glorious about I have $1 million business. That's great. But we were if there was a conference where we thought there might be somebody that used Infusionsoft or needed help with that, we were there. So I was never home. My business partner was never home. We were on the road for a year. So once they locked that down, we just stopped taking Amex. I wish I could say that's not actually true. We actually kept taking Amex for the next 3 months. And we just kept putting money into the savings account because it was one of those, we got a bunch of orders and they have payment plans. And when they would build the next payment, the next $2,000 payment, it'd go into Amex. It was still locked up though. They weren't releasing money. It was all locked up. So finally we got smart and said, no, we're not taking Amex because we can't actually get that money. But we were continuing to sell. So we had enough to keep the business going, and we could actually start paying my business partner and I a little bit. So there was revenue coming in and we were selling. But then we also had this big balloon payment. And I kid you not, we were in a brand new office space. We were the first tenants. We didn't exist in Google Maps. So they're like, look, we don't even show you on the map. We think you guys are fake. I'm like, get on FaceTime or a video. I'm right here. I will walk you around the building and show you where I am. And they're just, I don't know, people that work with merchant account or for merchant account, they're not human. It's different. If you ever had an issue with the merchant account, you know what I'm talking about. If not, just wait because you're not really an entrepreneur until the merchant account is locked up.
That's funny. Okay. So you guys go from earning 10 to 15K a month to doing this $180,000 worth of sales at this conference. Let's talk next, I guess, about delivery. How did you service these clients and have your team where you're able to deliver results and not let things slip through the cracks?
Yeah. So we're a services business. So anyone that's listening to this, it's a services business. This was our saving grace and our sanity. And truthfully, it has continued to be over the history of 6th Division. So we sold all of that. We didn't sell these projects where we had to go do the work for everybody at the same time. We were selling our projects were productized where you're coming out for a 2-day window. And so really, really quickly, when we were at the event, we had a sheet of paper that had the dates that were available. We sold way more than the dates that we were planning on. So those all got filled up. And rather than us doing all this crazy back and forth to try and schedule, really quickly, we contracted a developer to build this little scheduling tool. So we could just send people through and say, hey, go schedule when you want to come out. But if you think about it, all it was let's look at what 2-day windows we're going to do work for people. And then people just go schedule themselves into those 2-day windows. So from April, we had some people I'm changing my flights. I'm coming next Monday, Tuesday. So literally from the beginning of April until the middle of July or end of July, clients would come out together, but they'd have a one-on-one coach. There were 5 of us and we would each work with a client. So we had 5 clients who would come out at a time. And from the beginning of April until the middle to the end of July, we had a client out every Monday, Tuesday. We had 5 clients in our office. We were doing a 2-day makeover, and then they just started to stack. Now, here's the deal. It's not like we had this thing totally systematized. We were making it up as we were going. We really just sold the idea of hey, I've been doing this thing forever. We're really smart. Come buy from us. And people did. And we were smart and we were faster than anybody else was, but it wasn't systematized. So people would come out that first Monday, Tuesday, they came out. We would plan what we wanted to do with them. And then we start to build. And then inevitably, because we were young in our business, we didn't have the discipline to say, okay, you're done now, leave. We're cool. And then we'll also do this, this, and this for you after you leave. So now I've got the tail of that first group that I've got to clean up. But the next Monday, Tuesday, another group's coming out. And so we work with that group while we're trying to handle this first group. So there wasn't a whole lot of sleep happening. And one of our core focuses in that time is we will make our clients happy. So we were look, at all costs, protect the brand, make clients happy, over-deliver. And what those costs were sleep, basically. But the way that it worked, the critical piece was that they all had 2 days where everything started. So we had a bunch of people buy, but a lot of them, they weren't really hitting us up trying to ask for anything for 2 months because they weren't coming out for 2 months anyway. And so we were able to leverage out how we were going to work with our clients because we had certain bandwidth. What we didn't do a great job of is cleaning up and wrapping up projects. So they took a lot longer, and that started to stack and started to add. That ability for us to go to an event, somebody buys, and we just schedule them into a future date, and then they show up and we work, really is, it's also a reason why we stayed in business, because we could have really easily just killed our business right off the gate by getting a bunch of people in, and then they want a refund because we're not getting work done right away. But when we scheduled it and said, cool, your time is this date in July. So we did every Monday, Tuesday without no missing from April to the end of July. And there were 2 times in there where we ran a Monday, Tuesday, and a Thursday, Friday class. I get tired just talking about it because you got to keep in mind, we were still selling new clients. Like my business partner and I were still selling new clients on top of that. Plus, we're traveling to events on the weekends to get clients coming back in, having another makeover Monday, Tuesday. I mean, it was crazy. And it's kind of the way that businesses are when they start. Like, you got to scramble, you got to hustle. It was crazy. But that's what we did to make sure we didn't kill ourselves from a fulfillment standpoint, is it was all scheduled out. And then over time, we just got better and better to where, like, now people come out and we're wrapped up in 2 days, and we're getting done what 6 years ago when we started, 6.5 years ago, would have taken us literally a week and a half. We can get done in 2 days. What we used to get done in 2 days, we can do like in the first 2 hours now.
We'll get back to the show in a minute, but first a quick thanks to our sponsor, Lead Quizzes. If you want to grow your business to 7 figures and beyond, you must learn how to generate leads predictably. When I first started my business, lead generation felt like riding a roller coaster. I would have huge sales months and then months with nothing. This happened because I relied solely on referrals and networking to grow my business. Predicting growth and investing in the future were frightening because I didn't have control over my lead generation. That was before we created Lead Quizzes. Now I predictably generate leads in my sleep and have stopped worrying about where the next sale will come from. Top marketers like Neil Patel and Lewis House have used Lead Quizzes to increase their lead capture by up to 500%. Think about it. Quizzes are fun, engaging, and you can offer personalized feedback in exchange for your quiz taker's contact information. Lead Quizzes is a software that allows you to set up high-converting quizzes quickly without having to hire an expensive programmer. In fact, our users have generated over 3 million leads for their businesses. Take control of your lead generation today and start your 14-day free trial by going to leadquizzes.com/podcast. All right, so some things I hear about your model that sound really good is, like, one, you have a productized service that you can sell. So it's a fixed fee. You don't have to do this custom scoping or proposals or that kind of thing. So that makes your sale a lot easier. And then you're also creating focus days to get stuff done. So that's something that I learned in Strategic Coach, where if you just focus on this, you're not jumping between tasks. It makes things a lot more efficient. So it sounds like you had a couple really good things there. Are you doing all custom work at this time still, even inside of the 2-day makeovers?
Yes, sort of. I mean, everything that we do inside of a makeover is custom to that business because it's just one-on-one. Mm-hmm. We have built a lot of tools and templates that we can reuse to create whatever their custom solution is. But the reality is underneath anything that's custom is a whole bunch of things that have been done a million times before. It's just how you piece them together. So we've gotten a lot more efficient at how, like, if you look at a custom home, for example, a custom home has a room and the room is 10 feet by 12 feet. Cool. There's only like millions of 10 by 12 rooms inside of other homes. So the building blocks are not custom. It's just how they're put together. So we've gotten a lot better in our makeovers at building the templates and the tools and the resources so that we can create something custom way faster. And then we're also exploring, like now we're also starting to explore how we take completely, almost like the equivalent to like a manufactured home, but a prefab, pre-built thing specific for an industry. So we're aligning ourselves to industry leaders to take these automation platforms into businesses where it's like, hey, you're not at the point where you need custom. You just need this simple automation system in place, and then you'll be able to get to the point where your business has grown enough where you've earned the right to go build something custom. You just need key critical components right now. So on the makeovers, yeah, it's still custom, but we're using building blocks that we've built over the last couple of years. And then on the other side, we're actually just taking the whole set and saying, hey, you run a business like this, I got you covered already, and I don't have to charge you 12 or 15 grand to do the custom thing. I can charge you a couple of grand, and this thing's up and running. You're ready to rock and roll. You can go make money right now.
Okay. So would some examples be maybe a building block as you help them build a sequence around, like if someone no-shows like a call that they were scheduled for, maybe someone cancels a service and there's a follow-up sequence that goes out after that?
Yeah, there's you do some sort of a consulting, you're a service provider, you're a coach or whatever, and there's like a new client onboarding that's pretty standardized, and then we can go tweak that for you if you want. And then there's what if somebody cancels? There's how you handle a sales call if you're selling one-on-one over the phone. What if somebody doesn't show up? There's I want to do a webinar. So it's like, all right, we got these puzzle pieces. Now we just need to know what puzzle you want to make, but we've already got the pieces done for the most part, and we'll go tweak and customize it. But now we're not starting from scratch. We're starting at 80% done already. Okay,
so how's that working then? Are you having to hire people like now to grow your team during this period?
So do you mean now, or are we talking back in the first million?
Yeah, the first million.
Okay, so the first million was a really interesting journey because when we started, there were basically me and my business partner, like 3 other guys that were there with us. And we didn't have like a real clear vision of what we were going to go create or what kind of company we wanted to have. It was 3 guys that we knew, and we knew them pretty well, and they were kind of hanging around. And so we were all together and we started this business. And then as we started to get clients and like the business started to have a life, like, hey, this is an actual business. we started to realize that there were some people that had sort of some competing interests, like they weren't fully engaged in what we were doing. And this is not a knock on them at all. They had other things they were working on that were kind of their own businesses. And so we had some people that ended up leaving because it was like, well, either you got to be a part of this or go be a part of that, but I got to know what I can count on. And then we had some other people that we just had to get clear on what kind of culture we wanted. And it required some upgrading and in some cases, having some people leave because based on the type of culture we wanted to create, there wasn't a fit. And it was the first business we'd ever started. So we didn't have any of that hindsight. Like if I were starting a business again, I would start with, this is the culture we're going to have. These are the type of people that we want. These are the roles that we need. And I'm going to go intentionally find them. That's not how this business started. It started with, hey, we've got some people because we knew them and we needed some help here and some help here on some things. Then all of a sudden we fell into a business that was making money and we had to kind of reverse engineer that. So that first year we had some people and it was great they're working, but we did have to actually go replace basically the entire team and go hire a whole new set of people. And we did that with our best version of trying to get clear on what the culture was that we wanted. But that was like on top of all that, then we had to go hire a new team and get the right people on board. Because we did, like at the beginning, I was doing makeovers. My business partner was doing makeovers. He was doing the implementation work. My business partner is definitely a marketing and sales guy. So we went and hired people to get him out so he could just do marketing and sales. And then I was sort of leading the efforts on the implementation side. And it was probably a year and a half in. I want to say maybe 2 years in, but I feel like it was more about a year and a half in when I did my last makeover. And then we just had a team of people that were doing the work. And then I could be the leader and more the marketer. And I would be the one that would go speak on stage. And my business partner was more working on the marketing and then also handling the sales. And we started to hire a sales rep. And then eventually we actually spun another company out of it, but that my business partner runs now. But there was definitely a journey in there of like, oh man, I don't know if we have the right team for what we're trying to do. And there's no way we can actually get the right team unless we know what we're trying to create. So we had to step back and get really clear on that so that we could actually help the team that we had see if they wanted to be a part of it or not. Some of them didn't, which is not a knock on them. They're just like, oh, I just want to go do this. Cool. Other ones wanted to, and we had to upgrade, one, how we were showing up so that they could then upgrade how they were showing up so we could create the business that we wanted. And then we had to go find some new people as well. And you got to bring them in and get them trained. And then you're balanced like, hey, well, when do I throw them to the wolves and give them a client and hope that they don't totally botch it? And anyway, so it was a party, that's for sure.
Okay, sounds good. So you got to put the core values in place, the roles. So probably a lot of stuff that you could learn from a book like Traction or Scaling Up.
Yep.
And so you got that stuff in place. Did you have any kind of like special training for these employees? Like you talked about that balance of like when you can just give them to the clients and trust that they're going to deliver what you and your business partner were doing before that?
Yeah. So the big rage is go create a course, right? And it was at that time and it still sort of is. And so we had this sort of idea that we were going to go create this info product and we we're going to have a course that would train people. And then we would just sell that and that could balance out how big the services company was going to be. And what ended up happening is we built that course. We did sell it a little bit, but what we've actually done is we've used that as the training for new coaches coming in. It's like, no, here's how we do this. And then we actually use it to prepare our clients to come work with us. So all of our clients go through this training, this course essentially before they come do any work with us so that they know how we approach it, so they know what our language is, so they know what our process is. Like we take them through this training course. So I'm extremely systematic by nature and my mind thinks in terms of frameworks. So I wanted to know that no matter which coach sat down, like for me, what was always had to be the case was I should be able to start with the client and spend 2 hours working with the client, walking through our process. I should be able to get up, walk out, have somebody else come in, and after about 30 seconds, they ought to be able to just look at what I've been creating and pick up right where I left off. That requires that you have a system. So I was always working on that. I was always talking with our other coaches about, hey, what have you done here? What have you done here? What if we use this worksheet or what if the worksheet looked like this? What if we name our campaigns this way? What if we organize them this way? What if we name and organize our tags, different elements? What if it was all systematized this way? I think it'd make it easier and we could all be doing the same thing. And so what ended up happening is the thing we thought we were going to create as this info product ended up just becoming our in-house training and then also our client training to get them ready to do work with us.
Okay, interesting. So we've talked a lot about like your 2-day workshop. So that's like you're going to make some money right there. And then are you building in a lot of like recurring revenue as you go or how's that working?
We didn't for like a year and a half or 2 years. So we got to probably 2 million or so all on the back of the makeover. Just like that was it. We raised the price, went back, did it again. And then one day it was one of our partners / friends. I think it was out in the UK. It was one of those like, dude, why are you not letting people give you money every single month? I'm like, I don't know. It's not like I've been through this before. And then I just like, yeah, I'm going to choose to ignore that true principle. It's like, we're just trying to make this thing go. And so he's like, yeah, you should just like ask them. And magically, lo and behold, we just started saying, hey, we can continue to work with you. And then people are like, cool, I'm down for that. And so we started signing people up into an ongoing program where it was just, hey, we built this thing and now there's ongoing maintenance. We want to build some new things, tweak some things. So we started to add that in as a recurring revenue element. And then, that definitely helped not having to sell as much on the front end. It answers the new challenge of balancing your inventory and your coaching and everything. But yeah, we started adding recurring revenue and that's been really, really good so that we're not starting every month at zero in terms of sales. We're starting partway up the ladder already. So that's definitely helped out.
So how did that work for you with recurring on a service model? Were you basically like really proactive, or did you kind of have a roadmap of like, this is what we're going to take all our businesses through, like depending on the stage that they're at?
What did you mean? I think the first part, I just missed.
Yeah. So my question is basically they have expectations that you're going to be building something or doing maintenance every single month. Like how did you figure out what you were going to be working on to continue to keep them for a long time?
So we tried a bunch of different things. And essentially when we were done with the makeover of the service, it was, hey, we built this and here are all the other things that could be running and could be automated in your business that we haven't gotten to yet. And it's natural that when you're working with a client, you're going to identify, oh, and then we could do X and we could do Y and we could do Z, but we're not doing that today. With that stuff you could do down the road. So we've kind of lined up this list of, hey, here are all the things that you could do in your business. And clearly the value that we just brought over the last 2 days could be valuable ongoing because you didn't know what you were doing before. And obviously we know what we're doing. We can help it go way faster. So you got to sign up in this program. Initially, it was you just sign up and you can quit whenever you want. For a while, we did like a year-long contract, like you're signing up for a year. Where we've settled into right now is we do a minimum of 6 months. And that's only because for us to really get in and like our goal is to build a muscle in the business of how to do what we do. And you can't really do that in less than 6 months. Like it's a minimum of 6 months. And a lot of our clients stick around well beyond that because they just value the clarity and the insight that we bring to their business. So the way that we teed it up, though, to answer your question specifically is as we were doing the makeover, the process we take people through is designed to, let's step back and let's look at everything that's going on in your business so that we can be holistic about this and really figure out where's the greatest opportunity because it might not be what you thought it was. And a lot of times we'd have people come in and say, hey, I want to work on X, Y, Z. And by the time we're done with this initial diagnosis, I go, no, actually, I want to do ABC. And in that, we identify all the other areas where we could help. And so we've already created a roadmap of all the things that will need to get done by somebody. And then it's just a simple question of, look, do you want to go attack this list the way that you were doing it before you came to us, which didn't work, which had you come to us? Or do you want to go attack this list the way that the last 2 days have been and all of a sudden everything seems easy? That's your choice. And then we just roll people in. And we have a lot of clients that we always have done a low retainer that's like, hey, we're just going to be in this job. We're going to make consistent, methodical progress. And if you ever need to sprint, we can sprint with you. So like if you need to come back out, we had a client that he was in our ongoing program like $2,000 a month, and almost every month he'd drop like another $6,000 or $7,000 to come out and spend another full day with us in the office because he had that much stuff to do. There might be a month where he didn't, but he's like, hey, okay, this month I got to come back out because we got to get this done. This month I got to come back out, we got to get this done. So we always said, what I don't want to do is I don't want to have like a $7,000 a month retainer where you might not need that because then people are like, oh, well, I got to cancel. I'm like, no, I know that at this level you're always going to need something, and this is going to keep the methodical progress going. And then if you need to spike, we can spike with you. So.
Okay, great. All right. So let's talk a little bit about like your marketing and sales. So like has the main thing been getting to like 7 figures and beyond? Has it been the conferences? And like what strategies really worked for you to make those conferences work?
So definitely conferences to get to the first 7 figures, and it still works really, really well. And I should throw out a caveat, like I have not always been a great speaker, but like I love being on stage and teaching. So it works really well. Like it fits within my skill set. And there's just something really powerful about being able to demonstrate what you know how to do live in front of people. You can build a relationship super fast. So stages has been a big piece. And the other element is aligning with and identifying influencers of your clients. So we try and do a lot of partnership work where we find the people that our clients are already looking to, and we get in with them, we help them. Maybe we come speak at their event where we get a really good relationship there, and then we just become known as like, oh, you got to go talk to these guys. Oh, you got to go talk to these guys. So the highest ROI producing activities for us has been going to events, working with partnerships. And then from like a Facebook strategy standpoint, it's actually been that we do a lot of retargeting has worked the best. So over the last year and a half, we made a pretty big push to try and spend Facebook dollars and turn them into clients. And it's been okay at best. And I don't even know if I would qualify it as okay. If I got into the real numbers and I pulled them up, I'd probably be like, no, it actually sucked. but what has worked really well in the past has been like, we go to events, we speak, we get people excited. We'll have leads text in to get whatever free information we want to give them. We drive them to get that information. Once they drive and they click, now they're retargeting, and I follow them everywhere. Like, we go to events and I'll go to people like, man, you follow me everywhere. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the game. We're just going to be here and we're going to market to you through, retargeting. And all of that is coming on the heels of them already having an in-person experience of us that, ideally is a good in-person experience from speaking and presenting. So speaking, presenting, partnerships, showing up at people's masterminds and just contributing for like an hour. That's still kind of a speaking gig. Doing webinars with people where we're delivering a bunch of value, and then try and capture leads, follow up, and drive them to us. And then we just do, it's kind of a long play. We've got a lot of clients that will sit around and follow us forever. And then they're like, hey, I'm ready now. So we try and produce valuable content over time just to stay in front of people enough to be top of mind. But it's the biggest thing. It's much more of like a business development partnership play than it is, I'm going to go spend $1 on Facebook in front of cold traffic and turn them into people that buy, because we're dealing with services and because they're typically a little bit higher dollar. That we just found that to work. It's way higher ROI activity for us.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. That sounds good. So that helped you get to 7 figures. Like you said, we don't have a lot of time left in the interview, but you got to 7 figures and you said it was still like a grind. So how did you go from this phase of $1 million there to 3 million last year with 15 employees and like made it a better like lifestyle for you guys?
Yeah. So great question. So we did, let me just think of the numbers. We got to 3 million, I think about 3 years, and we've done 3 million for a couple years in a row. And here's what happened though. So back at the $1 million, we did 7 figures in our first year. And my business partner and I'll never forget this. We sat down to do our annual planning. And so we're looking at, and we were planning for 2013. And the reality is like our year really started in April because we didn't make any money before that. So we did 7 figures in about 9 months. We sat down to plan for 2013. We're like, okay. And the first thing was so funny because like we're just finishing a year where we're like buried and hammered and slammed and traveling. And like, all right, what are our goals? We're like, we're going to double. So, and like literally we wrote it down with the whole thing planned out. And then I just had this thought pop into my head. I'm like, what if you didn't, dude? I said, wait a minute, hold on a second. Before we go gangbusters on doubling, let's just look back at everything that we did this last year and let's see what actually produced results. And what it led us to is like, you know what? I actually don't want to double. I'd be content to make $1 more than we did this last year. I want to cut our pace in half. And so our version of doubling actually wasn't doubling revenue. It was doubling by reducing the cost in half. And it wasn't even a monetary cost. It was just the sheer time and effort that it took. So the key in that pivot was that we made a very distinct decision that we were valuing time and the freedom and like the ability to breathe, literally. We were valuing that over chasing after another dollar. And so for us, we started to balance out, like when I work with entrepreneurs about defining this, I have this thing called the small business spine. The very bottom of it is you've got to define what your return is before you worry about your clients. And that's going to be monetary, but you also have to consider time and you've got to consider what your role is. So we looked at this like, all right, you know what? Forget chasing after the revenue. Let's get really clear that we want to reduce the time. We want to cut that in half. And here are the roles that we want to be filling, which means we can't just go be chasing after growing revenue. It might be that at the end of the year, we do $1 million again or whatever it was plus $1. We do that again, but we didn't travel like 3 times a month or 4 times a month. And Dave, you're actually selling, you're not doing makeovers. And Brad, you're not doing the makeovers. You're leading the team that's doing the makeovers. So it was a distinct decision and it required discipline for us to remember like, no, it's about pace. It's not about revenue. So be okay with the fact that your revenue might not be growing, but your freedom and your pace will. And all we did was go grow by like 30% anyway. But we did reduce the pace in half. And that was a key focus for us, was to go make that happen. And we've kept that ever since. Like, cool, I'll grow my business, but not at the expense of my life and not at the expense of my family. I'd be content if I was still running $1 million business if it gave me the time that I wanted to. So. Okay.
And so what helped you? Was that what we were talking about as far as like systems and getting the right people in place?
Yeah, it was at that point we didn't have any of the training. So it was the systems. It was creating that training that we could use to onboard the new people that were the right people, and also using that system to onboard our clients. Because once our clients came on better onboarded, our work with them, like we could get way more done. It was way easier. They actually held us in higher regard, which because we were able to pre-frame our expertise before they came out. So when they came out, they had a better experience. They already came out with a better opinion of us anyway, which made it easier for us to roll people into recurring revenue, which made it easier because we didn't have to sell as much on the upfront. And then what that created, because we could take my business partner out and he was just doing sales and not doing the fulfillment work, and because I was able to step out and lead the team, it created a space where there was real leadership, and we started to create a much more powerful vision of where the company was going to. Like, all the momentum started to go towards, hey, we can really go create whatever we want here, and we've got some breathing room, and we've got these systems in place that are making it easier. And so we added a little bit of leadership where I could get intentional about actually leading the company. And then it was easier for the team to do their work because people were more prepared. And we started to create some tools internally that people could use. So just everything started to get easier because we were systematized. We were literally just reducing the cost to go deliver the exact same thing. And when you can reduce the cost through systems and through some tools and through processes, then everybody has a little bit more room to breathe and be creative, and it just starts to compound on itself. So that was a big piece that led to the growth the second and the third year and got us to the multi-million-dollar mark, and it really has kept us there.
That's awesome. It sounds kind of like Keystone Habit that they talked about in the book, Power of Habit, where you focus on one thing that just trickles down all these other effects. And for you guys, that was really focusing on creating the right systems and cutting the effort. And you guys actually ended up growing, and all these things spun off because of it.
Yeah, it's exactly. We had a question we asked a ton, and I know we're about out of time, so I'll just wrap up with this. But a question that I had to ask when we were in that annual planning, which was, dude, what if we just hadn't done all of that stuff last year? Would we have ended up in a different spot? And the answer that we had to swallow was no, actually. Like, if we would just have not done that, we'd have been in the exact same spot. So the question now that I constantly am asking myself, and that we did that next year intentionally, was, hey, there's an event, there's going to be people there. Cool. What if we didn't go? Like, what would it do? And unless the question was, if we didn't go, we're not going to make revenue, we're going to have a problem, they were like, well, cool, let's just not go then. Or what if we just didn't do that thing? Well, that's the question. What if we did it? And if the answer to, if we didn't do that, it wouldn't really make a difference at all. If that's the answer, then it's like, well, cool, then just don't do that, because you're just doing something that's a waste of time. So there's an element of being disciplined about where you invest your time, and a fantastic question to always be asking, what if I just did not do that? And unless it tells me I'm going to fail, then just don't do it, and then go do something else that is more valuable.
Great advice. Okay, Brad, let's go through a couple like rapid fire questions at the end here.
Yep.
What's the one thing you did that had the biggest impact on your growth?
I grew up and I saw myself as somebody that was capable of leading a company.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I mean exactly what I said. Maybe not the grow up part. That was probably more of a joke. But probably about the first year, I didn't see myself as the CEO or as a leader of a company that anybody would want to follow or that we could go anywhere. And in that year, there were a bunch of things that happened. But over the course of that year, I woke up one day and I was like, no, I kind of know what I'm doing. I can make this happen. Literally, I saw myself as, I can lead this company. We actually have something valuable, and this thing will be around. Like, it's how you see yourself. And there are a lot of people that are running businesses that don't recognize the same stuff that I was, that don't recognize how you see yourself, literally how you see yourself and how confident you are in your ability to go figure things out in your business dictates whether or not you can actually go figure it out. So for me, the single most important thing was that I recognized, hey, I can go figure this stuff out. And when that happened, it was a whole different energy in the business. And we actually started to make progress because I could see myself doing that. Whereas before, I didn't even give myself the possibility of doing it because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see how I could be the leader. So.
Okay, amazing. Brad, if you could go back in time and start over, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself, one, get really clear on what kind of company and what kind of culture you want from the very beginning. Number two, I would smack myself in the face. This is not about the first 7 figures. It's more lessons that I've learned later, but I would smack myself in the face and say, now listen, genius, you're going to do some really cool things and you're going to figure some things out. And then what's going to happen, your reward at the end of that is going to be that you're going to get to another level in your business and you're not going to know what to do. And if you're not careful, you're going to turn back into that sissy person who doesn't see himself as being capable of going to yet another level. And just remember, the same thing that got you to the first level is what will get you to this mission, which is, I don't have to know it right now. I can go figure anything out. And if I haven't got the thing that I want, it's because I just don't know something yet. So it would be like, you climb and then there's a plateau, and then you climb and then there's a plateau. And I would go back and say, hey, know that this is going to be the case, so that when you start to hit a plateau, you're really clear that the answer is not to shy away or to shirk or to shrink from the work. The answer is to open your eyes, recognize what's going on around you, and go learn what you need to learn so that you can take the company to whatever the next plateau is.
Awesome. Okay. All right, Brad, I really appreciate this interview. You did a great job today. Where can people learn more about 6th Division and also connect with you?
Yeah, easiest and best place to go to learn about 6th Division is sixthdivision.com, and it's all spelled out. So SIXTH division.com. If you want to connect with me, I'm on all the socials. So Instagram, Facebook, I'll just go Instagram and Facebook because those are the ones where I'm most active. And if you want to, you can drop me an email directly. It's Brad, BRAD, at sixthdivision.com, SIXTH division.com, and I'd be happy to connect and chat.
Awesome. All right. We'll get those in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brad, and sharing your journey to seven figures.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks again for listening to our show this week. If you want to find out more about Brad and the lessons he shared today or read our show notes, visit leadquizzes.com/27. If you'd like to start generating more leads for your business and get a free trial to Lead Quizzes, go to leadquizzes.com/podcast. Next week, I'll be interviewing Scott Harkey on how he built his creative agency to $35 million in annual sales and how he closes big accounts like a $50 million 5-year contract with the Arizona Lottery. Please subscribe to our show so you don't miss this next episode. I'm Jeremy Ellens, and you've been listening to Journey to Seven Figures.